year. I'm so interested in seeing what him and Quinn Ewers do this year. There's been so much hype.
We have a pretty dangerous running back in Blake Corum.
Maryland's gone. Talia Tagovailoa.
Yeah.
A little too backyard football instrument.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy Sean Spencer, one half of that dynamic duo that is Let's Talk Football. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is Tuesday, which is not our normal day, but hey, 365 days of the year, man. We can talk college football, sir. Baby. So, you see who I'm with, my guy and the host of Restoring the Roar, Mr. Alex Loosemore. What up, Alex?
Man, we're 2 days away.
Right there.
And as you said, this is the last group we have to cover, which is crazy thinking about it because all the different positions, and we went 5 to 10 players deep. So we're getting pretty close to an entire draft class right there. So exactly. Yeah, it's a lot.
And it's crazy because now that like you mentioned, we've looked at all these players, we've dived into now as they all get picked up, you're like, oh, okay, he dropped or he got picked up higher. Okay, I like this.
Yeah.
But it makes the draft come alive as opposed to just knowing the top 10, top 15, top 20 guys that are going to get picked off the board. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it brings a whole new dynamic to it.
Absolutely. As we also know, the draft is kind of the culmination of all the guys from a year ago, the top guys that came out and they parlayed their success into but hopefully getting on a team or at least getting through the process. And after that, the spring games, we've been mentioning it, have been happening. After the draft, it is officially time to start looking at the 2023-2024 college football season. So we will definitely be diving into that and doing a little draft recap after the draft. But we can't talk about after because we're not there yet. Yep. We're not there. We're close. But we are not there yet. We've talked about all these different positions like Alex alluded to, and now we're at the end. We're at the very end. We're talking about the secondary who, for some teams, I know for Washington, very important in this draft. Mm-hmm. And Alex, this is a very deep secondary in this draft, safeties and corners.
Oh, man, yeah. The safeties are deeper than usual, but the corners, I can't remember it being this deep.
Yeah.
Ever. Like, this is extremely deep. You're probably going 8, 9 deep to get a starting corner, like a almost guaranteed starter. And then 10 to about 15, 16, you're getting guys that might start. Like you're going to get a guy in like the 4th round that there's a pretty decent chance he could find a starting role in the league. Like it's insane this year.
Exactly. And this is where we're going to see where some of these guys are going to fall. And you're like, dang, he's much higher than a 3rd or a 4th round grade. Mm-hmm. But because, like you said, it's because it's so deep at not only this position, but a lot of other positions we talked about, that might happen. You might get a guy that drops and you get a team that will pick somebody up and it's a complete steal at the position that they get him at.
So, yeah, absolutely.
So let's go right into it. And we're going to break this down between safeties and corners. Let's start with our top 5 corners. We already know who the main names are, the Devin Witherspoons, the Gonzalez, Joey Porter Jr. What is your top 5 list coming out in this draft? And like you alluded to, we already know any of these 5 could start on your team. But talk to me about the top 5 and what kind of separates these guys.
Yeah, so I'm going to go 5 to 1, and it's interesting this year. A lot of these guys that are up at the top are really good man cover corners. Yes. Which to see this many is rare. Like my entire top 5 are very good press man cover corners. Yep. Number 5 for me, Cam Smith from South Carolina.
Yes.
Very sticky in coverage. He's not the fastest guy, not the most athletic, but you turn on the tape and he's always right on the hip of the receiver, no matter who it is. I don't know how he manages to do it, but he does a phenomenal job. And this is a guy that's probably going to go in the 20s, might slip into the second round, but even at that point, you're getting a guy that's a phenomenal corner, somebody to build your secondary around. Number 4 is probably the biggest riser in the draft for the secondary at the very least. Deonte Banks from Maryland. This is a guy that was late second, early third, somewhere in there, and now you're talking probably in the top 20 picks potentially. This a guy that everything he's done this offseason has raised his draft stock. He was phenomenal at the combine, amazing athlete, moved very well, like flipped his hips extremely well. It was almost a seamless transition side to side. I love what he brings to the table. I got a close look at him when they gave us everything they had earlier this year. And and I think this is a guy that he also plays zone very well. He's got the technique to play zone very well too. So where I kind of start to look at is like you guys at 16, Pittsburgh 17, us 18, all the way to I don't think he makes it past the Giants at 25 if he's still sitting there. So I think it's a pretty small window for him, but I'd say he's a bona fide first round guy. And then the top 3 kind of separate from those 2 for me. Number 3, I got Joey Porter Jr. This is a guy that's probably going to go in that 11 to 20 range. I don't see him making it past Seattle at 20 if he's sitting there. Pairing him with Tariq Woolen, that would be a nasty corner duo. He's out of the top 5. I'd probably say he's the most raw. Like there's the most to work on. But he's a guy that when you fix those things, he's arguably the best corner in this class. He's a little too handsy. He'll get quite a few pass interference calls and holding calls early on. But with a little bit of work on that technique, he'll be absolutely fine. This is a guy I would love for Detroit to get at 18 if he's still on the board, because he might go earlier than that. Number 2, for me, 1 and 2 is more a 1A, 1B. Because these guys are both. I love both these guys. Number 2, though, I went Devon Witherspoon. He's probably the most pro-ready corner. Very, very good in man coverage. Everything I said about Cam Smith, sticking to him, all that. Witherspoon does all that and more. What separates him from Cam Smith in that other tier, though, is he is a phenomenal run defender. He'll go up and he'll lay the hammer. He's that thumper in the secondary, which you don't see too often. It kind of reminds me of like a Rod Woodson almost.
I like that.
And this is a guy where if we take him at 6, I'm very happy. Like this corner in the top 10, you typically kind of iffy about it. Not with him or my number 1, Christian Gonzalez from Oregon. The difference there, why I have him 1 and Witherspoon 2, is Gonzalez is the athletic freak. I think he's 6'2", 6'3", about 200 pounds, ran very well. Just like Banks, moved side to side very well, rotated his hips very well. You don't get to see much tape on him because quarterbacks pretty much avoided him altogether, which is a very good sign. I love this cornerback class as a whole. Even my like I said, probably all the way down to 9, I feel confident that they're a starter, one of those top 3 corners on your roster right away. So,
absolutely.
This is a phenomenal group.
Absolutely. And look, I those top 3, it's hard to differ with those top 3 picks. And I think one of the things that you said that I love about a corner, I need my corner to be big, 6 foot and above. You got Gonzalez, Porter, and Witherspoon, all that fit that criteria. And I want them to be around 200 pounds. You know what I mean? I want them to be kind of bigger guys so that when you have to go up against those physical type wide receivers, actually when with Washington and the NFC East, we got to go up against A.J. Brown 2 times a year. You know what I mean? When you have to deal with these big type of guys coming at you, you need a bigger corner that can run with him, and you get that in Christian Gonzalez, Devin Witherspoon, and Joey Porter Jr., but they're also tough and can hang with you and play good ball defense. So I love that. I differ at the end, but not too much. Deonte Banks and Cam Smith, much to the chagrin of our guy Will, who loves those guys. Those guys are my 6 and 7. So my 4 and 5. At 4, I got Emmanuel Forbes, and for a while, I wasn't huge on this guy because of just what I mentioned with the other guys, the size. This guy's 166 pounds. This he's a little leaner for me. He's got the speed, he's got the ability, but in the pro day, in the combine, in these last workouts, he's been rising up the board, and you talk about guys that have the elite cover skill. This guy has excellent on-ball cover skill. He has elite speed to run with these guys. And I love what I'm seeing from Forbes. And we talk about these guys, they're going to be potentially after 3, they might be available right around the time we go. Who knows if one of the top 3 will be available at 16. But after 16, if we go back, or if we even trade back, speaking for Washington, Forbes is somebody I'm interested in. And I can't, we can't be on this show and not shout out 2 of our close friends that are Georgia boys and talk about their guy, Keely Ringo. I mean, another guy with that size, over 6 foot, over 200 pounds, but still lightning quick speed. We all know about the championship game a year ago where he gets the big interception that seals the deal. And look, I was very critical on this guy this year because of the fact that, in my opinion, he did get exposed a little bit, but they were throwing in a lot more on him. We got to remember 2 years ago, they had a historic defense. How many of those guys went in the first round alone from that defense? So they weren't
like 4 or 5 guys.
Right. So Keely Ringo wasn't getting that much. He wasn't getting all those balls as much as he was this year. You know what I mean? And it still wasn't that much compared to the rest of the country, but he got attention this year, and we saw he got fair share, getting burned or just a lot more attention on him. So when he was under the microscope, obviously you see stuff like that. But I still think that his size translates in the NFL. Obviously, the caliber, him being at Georgia and playing in those top tier games. So I don't think you can go wrong with that. But I mean, Deonte Banks, Cam Smith, they're right there for me. I would not be upset getting either of them. So, I'm good with that for sure. Keely Ringo. Is that a clever name for Skid Rat? Yes, man. Oh. So, and that's the thing about this is that you can stop at this top 5, and obviously they are elite. They're you can't go wrong with that. But like I mentioned, the 2 guys that you had at 4 or 5, I have at 6 and 7. Who is your 6 and 7? And in that, top 9 that you say that, still value, you can get value, high value out of them.
So for me, Keely Ringo is my 6. This is a guy that at the NFL level, I wouldn't be shocked if he transitions to safety at some point. He's got all the tools of a very good, strong safety. He's very good at stopping the run. He'll come up and make tackles. I'd say he's probably a better zone cover guy than a man cover guy, which fits that safety role a bit better. But even as a corner, if you get him in one of those cover 3, cover 4, like more zone schemes, this guy's going to do wonders for you. And I agree. Exposed is kind of
extreme.
Extreme. It's an exaggeration a bit, but like Anthony and them have said before, the second half of the season, he was pretty much, it was okay, you're on their number 1 guy. When it was in that SEC conference play still, there were a few times he got burned. Absolutely. But then you look at that Ohio State game in the national semifinal. He was the one DB that was kind of limiting Marvin Harrison Jr., who was far and away the best receiver last year and going into this year. So there's kind of ups and downs if you watch his tape from this year. But it's a guy I still think is a first-round guy. And If you get him in the second round, that's absolutely a steal. And my number 7 is Emmanuel Forbes. So we have the same top 7, just moved around a little bit.
All right.
Everything you said, I agree with on Forbes. This is where I kind of slide down to the second round. I think he's an early second round guy. But if you got him in the late 20s, it's not wrong. I just think with looking at all the other positions too, he's probably an early day 2 guy. Mm-hmm. Number 8 for me is my guy DJ Turner. Mm-hmm. He was kind of a third, fourth round guy, and then he ran that 4.27 at the combine, just absolute blazing speed. And Ringo's one to look at, or is kind of interesting to look at, because at the start of the season he was like a bona fide top 10 pick.
Right.
And now it's just he's kind of like late first, early second. Back to Turner, that freakish athleticism that he has, he showed everyone else at the combine. I've seen it for 3 years now. And he locked guys down. We played a lot of man coverage, and there were a lot, and he got targeted heavy just because he was always on the number 1 guy. Mm-hmm. And he did a very good job. I like him early to mid second. He'll probably go mid to late second, early third. But again, this is a guy I think could easily start for you. And that's at 8? And 9 for me is Julius Brents from Kansas State. Yeah. I like him a lot. And this was a guy where early in the process, up until like a couple weeks ago, I just saw his name and was just kind of like, yeah, he's like the 9th, 10th corner. So what? And then I started throwing on the tape, and it was just like, okay, this guy can ball. Like he's legit corner, late second, early third, somewhere in there. But again, you're still going to get somebody that's going to compete for a starting spot, in my opinion.
Exactly. And you can't go wrong with it. And I have the same order. And the only reason I put Julius Brents 1 above, and the only reason is because of size. It's Julius Brents is 6'3", almost 200. And like you said, like once you start watching him, like I think we had mentioned him before, either on this show or another show, and I just hadn't put any time into really watching him. But like you said, once you put the tape on, you're like, ooh, okay. All right, Julius. I see what you're working with, man. I mean, he's an outstanding prospect. You know, the size alone is great for me, but he has the elite athletic ability, and which was definitely demonstrated at the combine. So I like that. And DJ Turner, hey, you've been showing me, and ever since that, I've been watching him and telling, just like, okay, I like this guy. This guy is electric. This guy has speed for days, man. And actually, is corner his only position? Could he also play a little safety, or does it?
I think he could be a very good free safety. He reminds me a lot, bringing it back to another Michigan guy, of a Charles Woodson. Right. A guy that kind of has the versatility to play up top, that kind of one high safety, center fielder, or could play outside on an island. Like, I think he's got the ability to do both.
Yeah, because he makes me think of somebody that could run sideline to sideline. Just put him right there, like you said, center fielder, and just wherever the ball goes, you just be a ball hawk and get it. So I would definitely love to take a chance on him. I know you sing his praises, and watching his tape is definitely exciting, and that speed is, you cannot go wrong. You can't teach speed. So yeah, I'm all for that. Let's dive deeper into this. Let's fall down past 10. Obviously, you got, the likes of the Eli Ricks. Will was bringing me on to the guy from Miami, Tariq Stevenson, 4.5 speed, excellent athlete, ideal size, that type of thing. Deeper down in the list, though, who jumps off the page? Who maybe, or that we don't know about it, you're like, keep an eye on this guy?
For me, and it's a tough one because I keep preaching size, and then this guy's like 5'10". So he's way smaller. But he's the nephew of a Hall of Fame running back named LaDainian Tomlinson in Travius Hodges Tomlinson from TCU. Like I said, he's only like 5'10", but he was playing that outside corner and playing it very well. He's got hops, so he'll get up there and contest those jump balls. He's kind of like Porter, where he's a little too handsy. You got to kind of fix that. But a guy you're going to get third, fourth, well, third's maybe a little early even, but like fourth, fifth, sixth round. And a guy that can do some damage for you. I love Hodges Tomlinson, and of course I got a good look at him when they beat us in January. So,
oh, absolutely. There's a shout out to our guy Chris, who's on here talking about his guy from Vanderbilt, Jeremy Lucien. Nice size, 6'2", 194, runs a 4.7 speed. Hey, we haven't watched that much tape on him. He got a couple good specs, good effort and run support, which is huge. Definitely get his nose on the ball and good tackler. So let's see if he'll come definitely later on. I know Darrell Luter, I liked him out of South Alabama. It's a size thing, it's a speed thing, good change of direction, to work solid out of the press and off coverage, has ball skills, man. Another one that's going to be a day 3 guy, deeper down in there, but somebody that if you can put in the right scheme, could definitely help your team. Anybody else you like deeper down there in the draft?
I'm gonna pull up. I had a list here, so I'll grab that. Darius Rush from South Carolina. Again, they got 2 good corners. If you're looking for a guy in the slot, Clark Phillips from Utah is very good.
Yes.
The first round talent, but he didn't perform very well at the combine. He's a bit slower. But you turn on the tape and it's undeniable. He's a very good corner. You're probably going to get him in the 3rd round. And one more guy, Mekhi Garner from LSU.
Okay.
He's a guy I really like. It's another late day 2, early day 3 guy. But he's a guy that you work on a few of those smaller things and he could turn into a really good corner for you.
Yeah. I can dig it. Love that size, man. Nice speed. Oh, I like that. All right, I can dig. So let's keep this thing moving and let's move on to the safeties, the top 5 safeties. Now, again, this is a position. This is why we a lot of times pair corners with safeties and just do it as secondary, because there are some guys that can move from one side to the other, but we're just going to try to focus on the safeties right now. I'll start at top 5 for me is Jamie Robinson, safety out of Florida State. Got the size for me, a little slower, but super experienced, and he was productive all throughout college. So the consistency and being productive in multiple positions definitely helps out. Sidney Brown at 4, 211 pounds, somebody I need under 6 foot, which, obviously I've said I have an issue, but I'm good with it. The speed is good, super athletic, very impressive. And just impressive is not only with speed, but it's just explosiveness. Couple that with that size coming in there, and that's somebody that I can see going from sideline to sideline. At 3 for me, guy has natural ability, an ideal size for a strong safety, 6'1", 209. Jordan Battle out of Alabama. Been talking about this guy for the last couple years. Interested to see when he was going to come out, and he has not disappointed, and I'm eager to see the transition he's able to make from the college to the pros and see if he can continue that success. My number 2 out of Texas A&M, Antonio Johnson at 6'2", 198. Quality prospect, excellent overall, athletic freak, just good speed, good hands, can tackle, you know what I mean? Just tough. This is a guy that I would love for Washington to kind of maybe take a look at, maybe potentially early second round, or see if we trade up or see how we do. He's somebody, because we need secondary corners and safeties, but I think this is somewhere huge. Or I would love to get the number 1 guy for me, which is Brian Branch out of Alabama, 6 foot 190. Not as fast as maybe some of these guys, but I mean, he's a quality pro prospect. You've seen him on the tape. I mean, this guy he has the quickness. He's disciplined. He's been taught by, you know what I mean? Had the tutelage of the great Nick Saban. So you know the kind of prospect you're getting with this, and the fact that you have 2 safeties in, you know, top 5, top 10 is, I mean, it says something about them and what they're bringing to the table, man. So what do you think about that, and what's your top 5?
So I have the exact same 5 people. I just have one change. So number 5 for me is Jamie Robinson, Florida State. For everything you said, I love what he brings to the table, and like you said, it's a guy that's been productive for a while. Here's my change though. Number 4, I have Jordan Battle.
Gotcha.
And it's just, for me, I think he should have came out last year, and he was eligible to come out last year. Came back and kind of had a down year, which knocked him down. And down year from what he was the year before. He was still a very good safety. Number 3 for me is Sidney Brown from Illinois, which is crazy to think. We have them with a top 5 safety, a top 2 corner. Last year they had a top 5 safety. They've got another safety here in kind of that like 11 to 15 range for a lot of people. But Illinois is doing something with some DBs here, and you love to see it. And then number 1 and 2 are the same for me. I got Antonio Johnson 2 and Brian Branch 1. Branch is probably the only first round guy out of all of them, but again, a very solid safety group.
Yes. Yeah. And you don't get this type of caliber of safeties every single year. So when you see this, you're like, ooh, okay. And in any one of these, I think if you needed one, I think you would be good picking one of these up. But let's go right outside that top 5 and look at some of these other guys. I mean, I know you got the Christopher Smith from Georgia. You got the Brandon Josephs at Notre Dame. You talked about that other Illinois boy and Jertavius Martin. Somebody I've been interested in, and I've talked to you about this guy before, Trey Dean III, safety out of Florida, 6'2", 200, not as fast, but the thing that gets is fluidity. He's got the speed, he's got the quick feet to defend those slot receivers. Good on man with them. Nice job breaking down when it comes to tackling. Like Trey Dean is somebody that if you've been watching those games, he leaps off the page. He's somebody I think it would be a steal to get later on in the draft. He's not obviously up here with some of these guys, but I love him. Where do you looking outside of that top 5 list? Who else are you looking at?
So number 6 for me, I'm a little higher on him than most. JL Skinner from Boise State. I like a lot of what he brings to the table. And he can kind of play either safety role, in my opinion. He's physical, so you can get him in that box safety, kind of that Jamal Adams role. I would probably start him there and work on his coverage skills a bit more to put him in that free safety role. But I like the potential he has with him and what he brings to the table. Number 7 for me is Brandon Joseph from Notre Dame. I really like Joseph's tape. And number 8, Christopher Smith from Georgia. This kind of the 6 through 10, 11, maybe even 12 range for me is very similar. They're all guys that could work into that starting role. You probably want to start them as like that third safety and have them work their way in. Number 9 for me and number 10, it's a couple Big Ten guys. I got Ronnie Hickman from Ohio State and Jair Brown from Penn State. I got to see a lot of these guys the past few years. And they both played very well every time I saw them. So, probably 3rd, maybe 4th round guys for them. But again, guys that are going to compete for playing time very early.
Yeah. And I'm excited to see. I mean, like I've said before, Washington is in dire need of getting this position, safeties, corners, free safety, strong safety. So I'm eager to see where we go, even if the Branch or Battle or the, Chase Brown from Illinois, if those guys go early. I want to look at a Skinner. I want to look at, Trey Dean or Jair Brown. Like I want to look at some of these guys later because you still can get quality athletes and great contribution from these guys. So I'm eager to see that. Let's real quick hit some of just the sleepers. Anybody you got down that maybe is definitely going to be probably a day 3 guy, but maybe we'll crack a front line.
Yeah, so I got 3 here. I like Daniel Scott from Cal. He's a guy that I watched a little bit on him and I liked what I saw. And then my other ones, I got Javarius Owens from Houston.
Okay.
And my last one would be just this school pumps out DBs all the time, especially zone DBs. Kayvon Merriweather from Iowa. I like a lot of what he brings to the table, especially in like a heavy zone defense.
Kayvon Merriweather. I'll take a look at that. I remember these guys. I can dig that. I like that. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna go ahead and take a look at some of those guys that you see. For me, it's right after that top 10. It's like drop. It falls deep down on that list.
Those were 3 of the like maybe 4 or 5 that we didn't name that I've watched. So I was just like, okay, throw those guys.
Right. Yeah, I've seen this guy. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can't go wrong with Tyke Smith from Georgia. I like what that's going on. Kendrick Duncan out of Louisville. I know that that defense was underrated, but it was very physical, very tough, especially at the line of scrimmage. So I like seeing what he brings to the table. But for the most part, man, a lot of these names is just blur. Like it's just like I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. So
and a lot of them are very similar in game style, right? So
exactly.
It's kind of hard to separate large chunks of this safety class, especially.
Right. So yeah, but these guys, those guys towards the end are definitely day 3s, definitely 5th, 6th, 7th, and potentially undrafted free agents. So we shall definitely see best of luck to them. And it's excited to, they're in the hunt. It's starting to even be in that conversation, even if you're not able to make a team or anything like that. And I mean, look, Alex, like you said, we're 2 days away from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What does this mean for these guys? College is done. Now you're starting a professional career, man. What are some of these guys thinking? What's going to change? What's going to happen these next couple of days?
Man, it's crazy. So a lot of these guys, you're probably still working out like crazy, still kind of improving on your craft. But a lot of it at this point would probably be just getting everything ready draft-wise. Probably if you're going to Kansas City, you're probably getting there if you're not already there. Getting comfortable, getting used to the area, probably figuring things out. Or if you're at home, it's probably just relaxing with family, because if that phone rings, for example, these guys on Thursday night, that phone rings, you're on a plane that night to the city the next day, and it's on like that. It just fires at you real quick. So, and for what it means for these guys, it's everything. Like, for me, I stopped playing 3 years ago, and I still played like 12, 13 years.
Yeah.
And so they've got an extra couple of years on what I played. So some of these guys have probably played 14, 15 years of football by this point. And when you're that young kid, your goal is always, I want to make the NFL.
Right.
And for these guys, that dream is about to become a reality. And for some of these guys, it'll be a smooth transition, and some of them, it's going to hit them right in the face.
Oh yeah. And that's always a huge part of it, that, that's why we always say this is a lot of the speculation. You never really can tell, because a lot it has to do with scheme fits. A lot has to do with them getting in there and getting on team, but also dealing with that first contract. You always hear with a lot of these guys that are top tier picks that hold out and don't do training camp and OTAs and all that stuff because they're trying to get that contract done. So you still got to get that going on. And then at the end of the day, how many of these guys have been told since they were little kids that they're the greatest? And then once you come to the league, they realize there's studying involved. There's conditioning, taking care of your body. How much money did the LeBrons and the Tom Brady's use a year to take care of their body? $1 million. Right, to keep their body in peak physical condition. And you got these other guys coming in having to kind of get this going. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. Scott said Davian Newsom.
I think he was tagging somebody to see what they think. But yeah, it's crazy too, because you've got the majority of these prospects are probably still on the phone with NFL GMs.
Yes.
Because a lot of these GMs are calling and saying to multiple guys, like, hey, if you're here with this pick, we're taking you. Yep. And for example, a guy like, we'll say Will Anderson, is probably having that exact same conversation with about 10 teams right now.
Yeah.
And these guys that are second, third round guys are probably having it with closer to 15 to 20 teams. Just because at that point, everyone ranks people so differently, right? So there might be, the Cardinals might be like, hey, if Jameer, if you're there at 33 or 34 or whatever it is, we're going to take you. But somebody like the Lions might view him as closer to a 60s pick. So it's very interesting to see where teams rank these players.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and have exactly with the priority that they have, because a lot of the things that you're going to see on draft day, what we saw a lot last year, those draft day trades. Washington was a part of one last year. We moved back to 16. The Saints and got Olave. You guys were the daggone Eagles had a field day last year picking up AJ Brown and all this. You know what I mean? So right when this time of the year, especially the closer we get to the draft, all these things coming out. And then you look at some of these guys that have been shopped, the Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill's, a couple years ago, it was Aaron Rodgers who said, I want to trade on draft day just to sabotage, take all the attention and everything like that. So just pay attention. There's a lot of stuff out there that, you might be very, very surprised about who gets picked up where, who doesn't get picked up, what comes out about these guys. Don't listen to the first thing you hear that comes out, because there's going to be some stuff that comes out and it's not intended for good for some of these guys.
Yeah. Yeah, there's always somebody. It might be somebody these people messed with years and years ago, and it's like, this guy's about to be a first-round pick. Well, not anymore. I'm going to ruin his life. Like, it's So my advice would be, if you see something come out about a player that is fairly new, do your research on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't know if you saw all this today, and it's not a bad one, but somebody on Reddit put that Will Levis is telling his friends and family that he's going to Carolina at 1. Just some random person on Reddit, and the betting odds for the number 1 pick, Will Levis was at plus 4,000 this morning. It's climbed up to plus 400.
Wow.
Just because some random person on Reddit put that, I heard Will Levis is talking to friends and family saying he's going to Carolina at 1. So don't believe everything you see, read, hear, because there's a lot of smoke everywhere.
Wow. It reminds me of last year when the Steelers were saying we don't want a quarterback or we want Malik Willis or we want and then
Desmond Ritter
they were high in that conversation. And all of a sudden, game day, Kenny Pickett gets picked up. There we go, and the rest is history. Colin saying sign a contract like that covers they should be injured long term clauses, etc. I'm sure they looked at heavily these days, or you would think it is. Yeah.
Well, you look back to Joey Bosa in 2017. He didn't sign his rookie contract till like 2 weeks before the regular season. He was midway through training camp before he signed that, all because of the verbiage on the contract. Exactly. There were a couple words that if you change it, it made the contract completely different. So they'll argue back and forth over a couple words in the contract. So some of these disputes get pretty heated over a couple words.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. But, and this may be to Lamar, That's why you need to have that agent so they can look through that, get that verbiage taken care of, and not let you get bamboozled. You know what I mean? When you sit here and think you're making X amount of millions, and they're like, oh, no, these are just incentives. You got to get 1,000 yards. You got to get 10, 15 touchdowns. You got to, you know what I mean? So definitely pay attention. Verbiage it means everything. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, look, we are going to move on. Actually, real quick, I want to cover two spots. The number one, who is your number one overall, the pick that you love the most? Maybe it's a pick that went to your team. Maybe it's a pick that you're just like, I'm so glad this guy got drafted.
From
or
last
just
year?
a pick, just in general, from any draft that you watched.
Okay, I'd have to say, if I'm talking to the Lions guy, it's Penei Sewell for me. Because he was one where from the start of covering that draft, I was like, there's no chance he falls to 7. But if he does, that's who I want. And that was me from November even until then. It was, we were sitting there. Me and Andrew were doing that draft. And we're sitting there. The Lions are on the clock. Penei's there. I'm just like, okay, easy pick. Take Penei. Finish your offensive line. And then they pan over to Mac Jones and he's on the phone. And I was like losing my mind. I'm like, damn, we got Mac Jones. Like, I'm losing it. And then they call it. I was like so defeated. Like, screw it. We're getting Mac Jones. Like, getting ready for that to be the quarterback of the future. And they say Penei Sewell. I was like, yes. And then even last year with the Jameson Williams traded all the way up to 12, and all those quarterbacks were sitting there. And I was sitting there and I was just like, man, we traded all like 20 picks trading with Minnesota and you get a quarterback. Like, none of these quarterbacks are worth it. I was hearing all this stuff about Malik Willis to the Lions, and I was just like, come on. And I wanted Jameson Williams at 32. It was every mock draft I had was him at 32. And then they called in that pick, and I literally had to up and leave. Like, I pulled myself, muted myself. I was just like up in my screen, like, yes, like yelling and screaming. Oh yeah, it was those two for me definitely come to mind.
Oh yeah, absolutely. For me, the very first one was one where I was a lot younger, but I just loved this guy. I loved him. He came from your school. My team had just won the Super Bowl, and then at pick 30, pick 30, we get Desmond Howard. He was a Heisman Trophy winner. He came to us. I was like, dude, how do we know? We're going to repeat. We're going to go back to Super Bowl. You're the best team, returning most of our guys and getting the Heisman Trophy winner. What? And his first time that he returned the kick, it was a punt, and they punted it to Brian Mitchell, and Desmond was kind of like, Brian Mitchell was on the right side of the field, and Desmond was on the left side, kind of staggered behind him. They gave it to Mitchell. Mitchell threw it back to Desmond Howard. Desmond takes it to the house against the Atlanta Falcons in 1992. Incidentally, on the ensuing kickoff, Deion Sanders then took it back for a touchdown, not to be outdone. But absolutely, Desmond Howard, because I was like, I didn't know how drafts and all that stuff really worked. So I was like, oh, is this what happens? The best team gets the best player? Okay, I can do that.
No.
That's not how it works.
No, it is not.
Right. And then obviously last year, I mean, you see where I stand, the background, North Carolina. I've seen Sam Howell since they recruited him at North Carolina. I've watched him as freshman through his junior year. I watched us, almost knock off the Dabo Swinney, Trevor Lawrence, Etienne-led Clemson. Took them down to the wire, had a 2-point conversion opportunity to win that game, all the way up to him getting drafted, all his buddies getting drafted the year before and him not coming out, and then him coming out now. And when I saw him, I didn't think there was any chance that we got him. But then as I saw him start to drop, and I was like, okay. And then for a while, it wasn't even that he was dropping. It was that, okay, well, we don't need a quarterback this early. We're not going to get one third round. We're not going to get it fourth. But once you start to get to that fifth round, you're like, there's if we're gonna get one, it would be right now. It would kind of be right now. And we're just going through picks. I'm just like, this could happen. And that we had 2 picks in the 5th, and the one that we didn't get him, I was like, okay. And then we had the second one, I was like, he's still there. Nobody's taking a shot at him. And when Bailey Zappi got picked before, I was like, oh, okay. What's going on? And when we picked him, I lost it. I was in New Orleans. I was on my buddy's show, and I'm just yelling like, I can't believe it. So that was definitely it. That was a great experience for me. And, from everything we've heard from him and the team and everything. So, hey, we'll see if it translates on the field. Let's see what happens. Yeah. But we're coming close to the end, but we switched something up since we were doing the draft. Since draft is this week, we talked about the corners and the safeties. Got the draft pick, the drafting analysis out first, but we're gonna go back to something that we are both eager to get back into right now. Get back home, or get back to playing our NCAA 14 Dynasty updates. I started last time, so I'll let you go first. How are things at JMU? Are you still at JMU?
I am still at JMU. So if I remember correctly, last one, I was in the middle of year 11. So yeah, that's what it was. I had to play it was mid-year 11. So yeah, I started that season ranked 5th. Senior quarterback Larry Nelson, senior running back Maurice Holland started the season 1 and 2 in the Heisman race. Quarterback got injured week 5 and was out until the national championship. Our backup quarterback came in. He's like a 90-something overall too, so we were fine. Okay. Ran the table, got to the national championship. And if you guys remember, my entire goal was to stay at JMU until I get the Michigan job.
Yeah, buddy.
Well, I found out that it was the last year on Jim Harbaugh's contract, and who else do we play in the national championship but number 2 Michigan? And it was, man, I was so hyped over here. I was like ready to go. I was like all up, ready to play. And then I got my butt handed to me early. I was down like 30-7, something like that. Like it was bad early.
Oh wow.
But then I came to life in the second half. And ended up beating them 45-44.
Let's go.
I got a touchdown with like a minute left. And kind of the theme of how we end the show here, I didn't go for that extra point. I ended up going for 2. Got it. And won 45-44. And then Jim Harbaugh re-signed instead of retiring. I thought he was going to retire. He re-signed. It's like a 6-year deal. And my headset just died. I'll keep going though. So I stayed at JMU. I had a couple good offers, almost took them. Decided to stay. We started the season ranked 3rd. I believe I'm in week 8 now. Still undefeated. Quarterback, running back are obviously gone. Got new guys in there, and we're looking good so far. I think we're number 2 right now. I didn't expect to be at JMU at this point.
Yep.
So what I started doing was I was like, well, if I'm here and Harbaugh just resigned, I'm probably here for a few years. So I started making custom prospects.
Yeah.
And I made me, my dad, and my brother.
Let's go.
My brother played quarterback, so I was like, okay, you're a quarterback. I made myself like a guard, and then I made my dad a defensive tackle because that's what he played. Nice. I was able to recruit my brother and my dad. Couldn't talk myself into coming to my own school though. Apparently, I got locked out on myself. I got out recruited. He's going to the top 3 schools are Pittsburgh of all places, Michigan of course, and I want to say Washington.
Oh,
it's all over the place,
right?
And I was number 4 or 5, but I got pushed out. So, but got my brother as a quarterback and My dad is a D tackle, so sat at those positions for a few years. Sucks I didn't get myself though.
yeah. You didn't get the Michigan job, and you didn't get yourself.
And if he goes to Michigan, I swear,
you're right.
Like, oh,
you got to play him just to see. No, look, what do you put those guys at?
For sure.
What do you put your guys at? Like, do you put them at like a 70 or an 80, or do you go 99 it? Like, what do you put those guys if you do customize a prospect?
So I never do a 99. Yeah, Colin, send me like height, weight, all that stuff. I'll make whoever wants to be in my dynasty, send me your info, I'll put you in. And
let's go.
If I don't get you, I'll keep track of which school you go to. I'll get you your stats. I'll do everything. I'll do all that.
That's good.
That'll be a part of the weekly update, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, so I just kind of, for example, with my brother, I know what kind of 40 he runs, all that kind of stuff. So I go and try and find based off the games, like what 40 time is what speed. And
gotcha.
I just like knowing his like throw power, throw accuracy, I kind of go off that. So I think my brother was like an 80, 82, somewhere in there, like 5-star, but it was a solid prospect. But and then it was a bit harder for the linemen for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think me and my dad both ended up as like 80s, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Yeah, Colin, send me whatever you want. It doesn't even have to be truthful. If you want to be a 6'7" wide receiver with 95 speed, I'll make it.
Right.
And just hope to God that I get you.
Right. Oh man, yeah. So from our last update, I was at Temple. I had 2 stellar years, 1 loss years in each, but still got kept out of the title game. I couldn't get higher than, I think, 4th or 5th.
Oh.
So I would get to like the Orange Bowl, or I get something like that. Last time I played LSU, and they had the Heisman. Remember, I had my receiver that was going for the Heisman. He didn't have the conference championship because we moved to the independent. So the LSU guy did, and that quarterback won the Heisman. We had to play them in the national championship, in the bowl game, and ended up winning 24-21. It didn't matter because, like I said, at that point, I was on my way out. Yeah. Went to the coaching carousel again, was ready to go, declined the extension. I was ready to get out of there, and nobody, and I mean nobody, offered me a contract. Man. Nobody. And so I didn't give up. Like the next year we lost 3 games, but I just stopped. So, I basically did what SMU did and did the death penalty. Just totally trashed all the recruits, went straight down, and I just left that program. So I'm no longer at Temple. But I realized one of the only programs that was able to get me from then on, I could be a coach, and now I'm an offensive coordinator at the University of Idaho.
Yeah.
It's
the Vandals, right?
Yeah, the Vandals. Let me tell you something, man. The crowd size is very small. I think it's like 50 some odd thousand. It's not that much. And Alex, people don't want to come play for the Vandals. Recruiting is awful, man. Like I can't get anybody over a 65. It's rough, man. So the first year, I'm not gonna speak about it. I had to sim through it because when my starting quarterback was a 70, and it was like, this guy, he had like a 50 speed. I mean, his 76 throw accuracy and like a 75 throw power. So he ain't throwing that thing far. It was rough.
Ouch.
It was rough. So that's what I told you guys in the group chat, that I was making I had made my own playbook. I had to, because none of the plays in any playbook that I had tried were working. And I the first couple games, obviously, I scheduled teams that were collegiately good, but not maybe perennially good. So like an Auburn, a Marshall, teams that like I would feel like I would have a good opportunity against, a Maryland, teams that I think I could beat them. No, got stopped. wasn't even close. Like I would try to keep pace with them, but then since I'm only an offensive coordinator, I can't play defense.
Yeah.
So I can't keep pace with these guys scoring 28, 35, 42 points, and I'm just. I don't have a long field goal kicker. It's been rough. It's been rough.
Mm-hmm.
This last year, right now, I believe we are 5-3. Lost to Auburn in a closer game. So we ended up getting only 2 decent recruits, and essentially it was what we had talked about, what we do in recruiting, where you get some recruits early. All the ones that lock you out and everything, you just kind of erase all them, and you just start looking through who are the best recruits that are available, at whatever position. I got 2 guys that were athletes, both. One was like a 70, one was a 77, one was a 78. So I was able to recruit them. I got a quarterback, Andy Hicks. He's got a 90 speed, but he's got like a 70 throw accuracy. He's an option quarterback. Yeah, those interceptions that are a screen pass. Like he's not doing it. My running
perfect
back
for the Army system.
Oh, absolutely. Oh yeah, and I run a lot of spread, a lot of read option, and so a lot of my passes are screen passes or those quick little spot passes. The inside, what's it called? The jailbreak screen where they come across the middle and the line moves up. Yeah. So I mean, it's a lot of high percentage passes. Every time I try to throw deeper than 20 yards, it gets picked off because the ball just hangs in the air for a year. You know what I mean? So right now we're dealing with that. I'm trying to think. I don't think there's any other position that I have outside of quarterback and running back that is higher than a 71, I think. Like it's rough, man. It's rough. So it's been slow and steady. I've been trying to stick it out through these games, but they've been rough. Still offensive coordinator here. But one thing I like, though, is at the end of each season that you don't leave, it shows your points per season, like how much what's your average points per game, and then where that ranks in the country. So my first year, my points per game was like 17. Like I wasn't scoring anything. And so it showed like it was, in the hundreds, like late 90s and hundreds. Over the last, so this is my 3rd season here. Over the last 2 years, I've gone up from about 90 to about mid 70s to this year. I'm in the 50s, coming into this year 50. So it's like, okay, we're getting better. Obviously I tried to choose the lesser talent, lesser competition. I mean, because it's been kind of rough. I don't like getting blown out. I moved
it's hard to sit there and watch it. Yeah.
I mean, when you have defensive linemen, returning fumbles 70 yards,
Yeah.
That reset button is real close, man. I don't.
Believe me, yeah.
Like, I can't do that. So we shall definitely see. Hopefully, we make a bowl game and go from there. But I'm pretty happy with staying here in Idaho and seeing what I can bring. I don't want to be the coach. I like just being the offensive coordinator. So I like it.
See where that can spring you job wise.
Oh yeah. I do kind of have a football last name. Oh yeah, Pashu. May have to think of some like smoke or Kool-Aid.
Yeah,
or like a bumper
or tank.
Red tank, right?
Yeah.
Tex.
Yeah.
I love it. Look, so hey, we are at the end of the show, but like my guys said, when the game was on the line and they said, what do you want to do? Do you want to go for one? And he said, no. You know what we're going to do? We're going for 2. Yeah, buddy. We are going for 2. We're at the end. I'm going to go ahead and go. Draft day is 2 days away. It's going to be super exciting, not only for the players that are getting drafted and their families, but the fans. especially us that have been watching and paying attention to this and either seeing the moves that you did do or have not done, what your team has or hasn't done this offseason. This is a culmination of a lot of that stuff, not only for their careers, but for what's the future going to look like for your professional team. So enjoy it. Get with your friends and family and watch it. And if you have free time, watch my guy who will be going for the first, definitely the first day and first 2 days.
Yeah,
for sure. Right?
Yeah, we're on Friday night for North Sports Dynasty for a typical show. I don't know if we're going at the start of night 2's draft or if we're going at our regular time and just kind of recapping what's going on.
Okay.
So stay tuned for that. But yeah, we're definitely live for the start of Thursday for night 1, and we'll be live during night 2 as well.
I can dig it. All right, Alex, what you got for your going for 2?
It's right along the same lines as yours. For people like us, it's the culmination of everything we've been working on for months. For if you're one of these people that's done mock drafts since September when everything was starting, then it's kind of cool to go back and see how you did. But enjoy it. Get excited for these players to join whatever team you cheer for. If it's, for example, if a Michigan guy goes or a North Carolina guy goes, be excited for your guy to move on, see where they kind of fit into that roster. And just overall have fun with it. It's an exciting time. One of the best times, in my opinion, of the entire football year. So let's enjoy the ride.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So look, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you being here with us. This is Let's Talk College Football. This is draft week, ladies and gentlemen. As you saw, I was on yesterday with my Packers fan, Dylan Walsh. Gave you a little insight on the Aaron Rodgers trade and what's going to happen from here on out for both teams. Following right after this show, stay tuned for my guy. You see him over here. You see that sweatshirt he's got on. He's the host of Restoring the Roar, Detroit Lions insider. Alex Loosemore goes on. Alex, what you got on the agenda tonight?
So I'm gonna go on in about 20 minutes. We're gonna talk a lot of the draft stuff, kind of who I'm thinking round 1, like pick 6, pick 18, kind of guys I want later on. Obviously gonna go on about the stuff that happened on Friday, with some players we lost for 6 games permanently. So we'll dive into that, and it'll be a show between half hour to 45 minutes probably. But gonna mainly talk the draft and then kind of touch on the whole Jameson Williams essentially scenario, because that affects my opinion for the draft, what we got going on.
Yes.
So
very true.
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting. That is definitely going to be interesting. And look, we got more this week. Obviously, Wednesday, we have Washington Football Weekly. We will be doing much of the same. Then I believe it's Terribly Toxic also is going to be going on Wednesday. And then, as my guy alluded to, Thursday night, North Sports Dynasty will be going. I believe Terribly Toxic will be going. There's a bunch of shows going on. So stay tuned for that. Friday, they'll do the recap, and I'm sure we'll get down on some stuff Saturday as well. So, hey, it's draft week. We got all this stuff in front of us. Stay tuned. Yep. The Ridley effect.
Yeah.
It affected us too, Shaka Tony. That guy.
Yeah.
Come on, man. This guy. So, hey, for myself, Mr. Sean Spencer, my guy and host of Restoring the Roar, Mr. Alex Loosemore. Hey, we appreciate you guys watching us. We will see you next time. Enjoy the draft. Enjoy. Hope your team gets picked. And Georgia fans, let's see how many of your guys get picked in the first round again this year. Let's see what goes on.
I'm thinking 3 or 4. 3 or 4. That's where I'm looking.
I can see it. How many Tar Heels are going to get picked up?
On the first round, you might get one. You might get one.
Let's go, Josh. Josh Downs, baby. Let's get it.
More than we're going to get, so.
Yeah, right.
Now.
All right, man. We'll see y'all next time. Tune in to Restoring the Roar up next. Talk to you later, guys. Peace.